Here are 3 things you need to do when you have a successful business. Now, first and most important disclaimer, I am working my ass off, so I would not argue that I have a successful business. But from the books that I've read, the mentors that mentor me, here are 3 things that I've observed, especially from the people that have made it, whether it's in restaurants, whether it's a sole trader, or whatever business they're in. The first thing I've always seen or learned is always buy the freehold, always buy it. Now, by this, what I mean is, for example, in central London, no, you cannot do this because property prices are ridiculous and the landlord will never give it because it's owned by pension funds or hedge funds. But if you're in the suburbs or if you're, operating on the outskirts of London or even zone 2, zone 3 London, your landlord will most likely be an individual. So if you're operating a very healthy restaurant or a very healthy business that makes good margin, buy the freehold, because that's how you become an institution. Because then no landlord can ever kick you out. No landlord can ever put you in trouble. And most importantly, they can't keep increasing the rent to the point where in 10, 20 years, where operating the business might become a bit harder, they can't eat into your profits because you own that. Number 2 is have a treasure chest. Now, what is a treasure chest? A treasure chest is not literally a chest of treasure, but what it means is access to a large amount of cash when you need it, either in a bank account or in gold or in Bitcoin, for example, like cryptocurrency. Now, you see big companies like Tesla, Microsoft, Apple have huge swathes of cash locked up in accounts or locked up in a form of tangible assets. As a small business, I genuinely think you should do the same thing as well. And that's what I hear people, because if something goes wrong, if you need to make an acquisition or if you need to do some kind of renovation and you have a pot of cash that you can tap into, not only is it tax efficient, but more importantly, you then don't have to borrow, because when you borrow, you get stuck. And the third one is make yourself redundant, which is build yourself systems. Now, of course, number 1 and 2 are very hard to do in real life, having a stack of cash and buying the freehold. You need a lot of money to do that. But number 3, you don't necessarily need money. What you need is good operational management. And what that means is essentially set up systems in place, whether it's the labor, whether it's the software, or whether it's the system, so that you don't have to be in the restaurant running it day to day. When you buy a business, you're not buying a business, you're buying yourself a job. But if you manage to have a successful business, you can work towards making yourself redundant. And that's what people always tell me to do. But doing it in practicality is very difficult. So the mentors in the books, they say do these 3 things. And when you do, not only can you then think about scaling, but number 2, that's when you can actually work on actually growing the business as opposed to working inside the business.